Hey, what's up? This is your girl Diamond. Oh man, so we got a lot to talk about. So I'm gonna give some folks time to come on in. My name is Diamond Stylz. I am the executive director of Black Trans Women's Inc. And I go live every Friday just to talk about whatever's going on. How y'all been? As y'all can see, I'm extra tan. I'm super brown. I just came from vacation. And I feel like, I'm gonna start calling y'all hoes out for colorism. And as y'all can see, I got a sunburn all right here. This whole little white spot is peeling. And this whole spot right here is peeling. Cause the boobs got ate up by the sun, honey. My white ancestors said, hey. We didn't give you 40 acres and a mule, but we gave you this sun dodging. Hey, Nubia. Hey, Miss Pope. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Brandon J. Carrie. Ty, hello. I'm back from Florida, of all places, nice and tan. Come on. Florida is good in the sense of like its beauty, but it's not good in the sense of its politics. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Amun. I have something coming up in my hometown, and I think this is what I'm gonna wear because I really like it. Colorful polka dots. Yes, come on, don't fuck with me attitude. Ooh. I have seen the Danya Luna documentary. I just watched it last night. Y'all want me to review it next Friday? Just to give everybody a chance to see it. I can I think it's really good. I thought it was really good. Yes, I loved it. I actually loved a lot about it. If you have HBO Max. Well, if you have Max, it's called Max now. I don't know. What was the rebrand for? I don't know. Anyway, um there is a documentary about Danielle. Here's Danielle Luna on my wall. She is, somebody who I consider an icon in the modeling industry. Um, she is basically the first African American supermodel. Basically, like anybody we know, she was like the first. Anyone who she laid the foundation before anybody we know that's modeling, that's black modeling now. In America, she was in that kind of Andy Warhol clique. She they wouldn't Diana Vreeland from Vogue wouldn't use her, wouldn't allow photographers to use her, clearly because she was black, because she was eating. Um, so she had to move to London. Then she moved to Paris. And each place she just slayed and became that girl. So it is a documentary about her life. Danielle Luna. and it's really good. It talks to her friends, it talks to her daughter, it talked to some of her lovers, it talks to some of the photographers that shot with her, and yeah, it's really, really good. She's originally from Detroit. Um, you know, so check it out and we'll talk about it next week. Y'all hear about Jeezy and Jeannie Mai? I've been every time somebody posts about it, I've been posting. Um, mhm. Every time somebody posting about this Jeezy and Jeannie Mai split, I put under their comments, once you go black, you're a single mom. I'm posting it on everybody. Everybody talking about it. I think it's hilarious. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know she's over it. I know she got to be over it because you in this 11-year relationship with this well-to-do white man, and he stopped messing with you because you don't want to have no kids, and he leaves you. Y'all leave each other, or he leaves you because he wants to be with somebody who wants some kids. Get her pregnant. They together, and you get with a dude, and ooh, I feel safe. I feel safe enough to have a baby with him. You have a baby with this dude. And then he leaves you after 2 years with a baby. That is hilarious. I never forget about Jeannie Mount on the show talking about black men as side dishes and white men were her main dish. People keep bringing this up, and I keep having the same response to it that I have all the time. Y'all keep bringing this up as if straight black men don't like being the BBC fetish for exotic non-black chicks. Like they like that. They don't complain about that. That statement that she made on the show, if you pay attention to who made it popular to call her out about it, it was black women and gay men. It was not black men. Black men, straight men, black straight men, they fuck with that kind of fetishization. They fuck with that. They like to be fetishized about their BBC. They actually promote that stereotype about black men. And as somebody who exclusively dates black men, there are some big old BBCs out here, and there are some people that don't have none. Trust and believe me. They all ain't got it. But it's hilarious when y'all bring that up, like that's like a gotcha moment, but it's not really a gotcha moment because they don't care about that in real life. They it's almost like they exploit it. Like they brag about that. They like being fetishized, but also that they fetishize them too. I want usually when they're getting together, they're fetishizing each other. Ooh, got me an Asian persuasion. Ooh, I got me a snow bunny. Ooh, I got me a spicy Latina. Men for black men outside of women outside of black women it's almost like a status symbol for them. I have gotten to the status where other types of women fuck with me. So they live for that. And the closer I can get to white, ooh, y'all not read Soul on Ice by by Eldridge Cleaver? He told y'all I practiced raping um black women so I can start raping white women because they told me that I couldn't have them. They were the trophy. And so I started being this toxic rapist because they were the trophy that white men said that I couldn't have. They put them on a pedestal. Yeah, he said that in a book. Not in an interview off the cuff, in a book that had to be edited and in a book. That's how bold it was and so important for him to tell us. And there's so many men behind closed doors that was telling us too. Remember what Eartha Kitt said about Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier? They said that a black woman can't do nothing for them. They wanted the status of being with a white woman. They wanted that status. They can't. This is what they like. They like to be fetishized. They like to be the nigga in the room. Guess what nigga's coming to dinner? They like that. Now, on the rare occasions, now this is a rare occasion, you'll hear gay black men talk about white gay men fetishizing them for the BBC. You'll hear that, but you'll also see that black gay person that exclusively dates white that loves to be that person. Yes, they love me. It's not a racial thing. They love to be that person. We're the only ones that are usually calling that stuff out. But I'm sad. I'm always I'm surprised by them a little bit because I was hoping they were going to last a little bit longer. I was hoping that they were they were in it for the long haul. I'm actually surprised by them actually. I would love to be a fly on the wall to know what was the thing. What was the issue? Because he posted something on his social media saying that I'm not, what do you say? I'm not worried about something. What do you say? I gotta read it and go to it. Something about him being too something to be worried about who's coming with him. He got too many goals in the future. Some shit. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Make sure y'all thumbs up as y'all come in. Tonight we're going to be talking about. I want y'all to help me understand some things. Tonight we're going to be talking about um, respectability politics. We're going to be talking about Sexyy Red, Sukihana. I want y'all to help me understand some things. People were talking about Sexyy Red. They were also talking about Sukihana twerking at the at the VMAs. And I'm trying to understand what is people's it's not that I don't know their problem, it's not that I don't know why. It's 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 like, God, we've been dealing with this for some years now. When we talk about women who don't fit the standard, the class standard, um, who I'm we've been battling this kind of having these kind of conversations for a long time, and we just had the white awakening over the past 5 years from 2015 to 2020, 2020. We had this kind of like, racial a new awakening around racial issues and class issues, especially race. But I think class be nipping us in the butt, be getting us, be wearing us out. And so I want to talk about that stuff. So, what are y'all thoughts on Sexyy Red and Sukihana and these antics? What are y'all thoughts? And be honest. Hey, Bougie. Stoner, hey. Drewby. I think that Sexyy Red is very real, and Sukihana is putting on a show. It seems inauthentic. Honestly, my only thoughts I've had were about fashion choices. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hmm. So I've been following Suki for a very, very long time. Most people got introduced to Suki through the Cardi B and Megan the Stallion Watt video, and so I've been following her before then, like before she was even big and famous, and she was the same person. So I'm trying to, what is inauthentic? Like, and no, I'm not talking about. I know she does things just to get attention and be extra. But as far as her being a hood ratchet girl, kind of like this kind of, I think that's authentic. Now, her doing stuff to get attention, I think that that's just being an entertainer. There are people who do things in the entertainment business to get attention. Um, Lady Gaga's earlier career, meat dresses and all kinds of stuff to get attention. Um, um, Getting hanged from a thing with blood coming down from her. She was doing that. Who else was doing stuff to get attention? Tons of people. All artists do. Nicki Minaj with the hair, the pink hair shaped a certain way, and Nicki Minaj was doing it. Being an entertainer, especially early in your career, sometimes you do stuff to get attention. That is that comes with the territory. That's quite normal. That it no, they wouldn't do it if they're just walking. There's some artists who are weirdos just based on them being weirdos, and they get popular for being weirdos. There's some artists who I put on for the camera, and when I go home, I chill. I put on for the camera when I'm in interviews, blah, blah, blah. Robin Williams being one. Did Beyonce do it? I don't think all artists do it. I'm not saying all artists do it. Beyonce, there's a strategy to how they should get attention. There's always a strategy. It may not be um, Sukihana's kind of antics. It may not be Lady Gaga's kind of antics. It may not be um, Robin Williams kind of antics. Everybody antics is different, but every artist has a strategy on how to get attention. People don't know that Sukihana is funny. People don't know that she started out doing comedy skits on Instagram. Yeah, she was doing these things before she was famous. So when people say inauthentic, it makes me feel like you don't know her. Like you're just I don't know. It doesn't make sense that you what's the inauthentic part? Is the gimmicks? Harry Styles, this kind of gender bending kind of thing could be a gimmick. Um, it could be a way to get attention. Young Thug did a little dress thing. Um, remember when Snoop Dogg had women on leashes at the red carpet? That was a stunt. Women on their knees like dogs on leashes. It's a stunt. That's a gimmick. That's to get attention. It's intentional. It isn't, but everybody does it. And everybody does it in their own particular way. Um, Madonna, Christina, and Britney kissing. That is a stunt to get attention. I'm trying to think of more subtle stunts to get attention. Um, because those are more, but more subtle stunts. Even if it's Cher just coming in the fashions that she used to come into when she would have her Bob Mackie shit on, basically drag when it wasn't in vogue to be this kind of out there with your fashions at classy shit like Grammys and Oscars. Cher was coming in Bob Mackie costume looking shit. These are the gimmicks. Sometimes the gimmicks is who I'm bringing as a date. Kanye West with Amber Rose. Her existence, yes, Kanye was a star, but her existence being this you want to be honest, this black man's trophy. She is high yellow, stripper body, da 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 da. When we talk about status and colorism, da da da, she was perfection for that. For a black artist, bam, let me put her on a pedestal. That's why we know Amber Rose. People don't remember Sexyy Red doing the video parody for 1,000 Miles. Absolutely. Diamond, you look so pretty. Thank you. I dressed up for y'all today. Thank you. Little Nas X. I love him though. I don't think a gimmick is wrong. That's a part of entertaining. So it's not something negative, but Little Nas X. He's brilliant at it, by the way. There's some people who just do it and it's like, oh, we done seen this before. But there's there's this brilliance to Little Nas X gimmicks. There's a brilliance to his strategy. Some people, there's a brilliance to it, and I think Little Nas X is one of them. There's a brilliance to his strategy. Yeah, Marilyn wearing the new dress. Yeah, I think I've been a fan since No Choking Work. Um, yeah, I feel like we all have seen gimmicks, and so let's take it out of the actually one off stunt sometimes. there are entertainers who put on a personality or cut on their entertainment when they're in front of a camera. You know who do it really, really well? Jamie Foxx. If you watch Jamie Foxx in stuff, in like during interviews, he's gonna tell you a funny story in the mindset of like the skill of this man. Not we know he's canceled, but the skill of Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, his skill in comedy was he could tell a story and make it funny. And so Jamie Foxx is like that. If you watch interviews with him, he is great. He's a great comedic storyteller. They cut it on for the camera. It's not that it's inauthentic. This is just a part of my entertainer's persona. This is who I am. Um, Somebody who I notice is old school Robin Williams. Robin Williams cuts it on for the camera. We know back at when he's off and depressed. They cut on for the camera. So what's the difference? What's the difference between these people that we're talking about and the antics of a Sukihana? Now I know what it is, but what's the difference? Can we think about that? What's the difference that all of a sudden these two women are the pariah of the Black community? They're the, oh my God, we gotta stop them. Oh my God, our young girls are looking up to them, and these are public enemy number one to our girls. And when we start caring about little girls so much, there's a lot of harm going on to little girls that we could stop. That we don't really put this much focus on. But all of a sudden, Sukihana and Sexyy Red, oh, they are the pariah of the community. What is different about them? Not necessarily different, but Black women. That's what they are. I wonder what's that called. What is that called? What is it? What what is it called when there's like these rules and specific things that you know that everybody else is kind of doing, but for some reason when Black women do it, oh, it's the end of the world. Oh, massage noir. And, there's a certain there is a book called the author's name is Leeds Maxine Leeds, hold on, Craig. And she has a book by the name of Ain't I a Beauty Queen? A playoff Ain't I a Woman? Ain't I a Beauty Queen? Black Women, Beauty, and Politics of Race. It came out in 2002. And in the book, she lays out how Black women have always been forced to be the litmus test of class because they're a woman. And now we know, before I get to that, we know class is rooted in white supremacy, right? Like rules of class. Like when we think about what is high class society, what is high class, what is upscale, think about who we think about as high class. Are we think about like a Michelle Obama, a Diane Carroll? Think of who we think of as high class. I always think of Diane Carroll because I'm of a certain age, and so she always has been that kind of, because of her role as Dominique Devereaux, and all of her roles in her career and just how she carried herself. She just was always seen as high class, and so yeah, who are some of the people that y'all think of as high class? Because class is low class, middle class, high class. I know y'all know that that's rooted in white supremacy. Y'all got to know that. Right? Like even like etiquette, because it's not just about Claire Huxtable. Is Claire Huxtable middle class or high class? Is there a difference? What is different? Okay, but we can take Claire Huxtable. What are the key things that are different about Claire Huxtable than your average working class black woman? What is different about Claire Huxtable? What are some things? We can take that. We can use her as an example. Diana Ross, yes. Even though, yes, I will go back to Diana Ross. Let me write it down. Uh-huh. What are the differences? What are the differences than your regular working class black woman that separates um that separates Claire Huxtable from them? Why was she the ideal that Bill Cosby, a nigga who is known for dogging black people, ironically, while raping women, um, who is known for pushing black people to be respectable and blaming black people for harms that come from systematic racism and white supremacy and all those kind of things. He is known to be this kind of black conservative type dude. Dominique Devereaux, yes, that's Diane Carroll. So what is different? Claire works, though. She isn't just taken care of. Yes, but when we talk about working class, it's not just about working. Yes, Claire works but she's a lawyer. That is a corporate job. That is not like a working class job. She's a lawyer. She does work, yes. But what makes her different? What makes her high class compared to a working class woman? Like what are some things? We got to name these things so we can see what it looks like. What makes Dominique Devereaux? What makes Diane Carroll? Education. Okay. Education. Uh-huh. She was an educated lawyer, yes. How she speaks, yes. Her diction and vernacular. Diction and vernacular. What else? What are some other things? Well spoken, considered well educated. Income and dual income household, two-parent home, high earning career. So money, bilingual, that is important. Bilingual, money, career. We got education. Yep. So education, diction, how she speaks, bilingual. That let's put that in that same category. Hey, newbie. Thank you for becoming a supporter. Um, high earning career. So yeah, she's a lawyer. So that's money. That's money, education. Anything else? Two-parent household. The way she presents herself, very put together, nice clothing. So her clothes and appearance. What about her clothes? What about her clothes? What about her clothes? Because there's different types of clothes. So what about her clothes? What makes them quote unquote nice clothes? Yeah, are they expensive? Are they modest? What are some things that makes her clothing high class? Family dynamic, kids were planned, at least they seem to be. That's a good point. Or that's the assumption that their lifestyle would make. Her clothes are conservative, modest, and tasteful. Conservative. Modest and tasteful. And when we're talking about conservative and modest, they're covered up, not out, not ass out. That's what we're talking about, right? Stylishly modest. All right. Perfect, 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 perfect. All right. So let's talk about diction, vernacular language. What about her voice indicates that she's high class? What about how she's speaking indicates that? Dorothy Spornak clause. Not revealing. Gotcha. What about the way she talks indicates that she is high class? What about it? What is she doing with her voice and her tone and her thing that makes it high class? Diction and vernacular. Doesn't use lingo. Okay. Confident. No lingo. No lingo or slang. Can I include slang in that? No lingo or slang. She didn't use much, if any, African American vernacular. So no AAVE. Does everybody know what AAVE is? I want to make sure everybody knows what that is. My audience is usually good at stuff like this. Okay, great. Pronouncing letters correctly, speaking precisely, proper pronunciation. So really mastering the white man's English, right? Mastering. Ooh, somebody brought up code switching. So she wouldn't need to code switch because that's just how she speaks. Basically, she wouldn't have to code switch. Tone, sing song kind of voice, low in serious moments, high in moments of excitement and joy, knowing the impact of both depending on the situation and who she is. Never really loud and ratchet, right? Okay. Mm, okay. I think that's enough. Anything else that we didn't do? We had education, how a person talks, money, career, how they dress. All those are class things, are what makes her a high class person. So, where are those things from? Who sets the standards for those things? Who? Who said that mastering the white man's English means you're high class? Who said that conservative, modest, tasteful clothes means you're high class? Somebody said society. Um, Pretty solid relationship with her kids. Okay. Is that high class? Is that exclusive to high class? I don't think a lot of these are either, but is that white America, white Christian heterosexual males? The closer you get, the more proper. I like that question. Not just white, but the rich and the able. Not just white, because we're talking about class. While race is important, class got some wiggle room, right? But why it is important to name also why is because at one point, no matter what we had, black people, we couldn't have this level. We couldn't get any level of class because we weren't even considered human. But that's going a little bit further back. That's going even further back. That's going, back to slavery when we were cattle. But let's even go further back than the slave transatlantic slave trade. When we think about the Moors and the Africans coming into society in Europe, think about some of those stories and how those stories played out. But all those things, yes, white people set a standard. Class is reminding me of the Gilded Age. The money doesn't matter. You need lineage, darling. That is an element of class, lineage. That is important. That's why all those monarchies were sleeping with each other and having babies that they were hiding in asylums with mental abnormalities and and deformities that they were. Remember, I don't know if y'all watched The Crown, but there was some people that they had that were hiding because they were high class society and their bloodline was supposed to be the divine. So anybody who didn't fit the standard of perfection in regards to how they presented and mentally, they put them in a home. Did y'all remember that episode? Y'all might not watch The Crown, but if you do, remember that episode that they were finding out that there were some people in their lineage that they weren't treating that well because that bloodline was considered the highest divine class of human. That's why they were able to be kings and queens. It was divine for them to be in that position. And that mindset transferred over to us in America because we had particular men in power who held the cards. And then when we get into the Gilded Age, that's the Gilded Age is the late 1800s. When we get into that age, that is also the time that black folks are getting free. And so, with black people coming from the age of you are cattle, y'all biologically, I love to throw this biological word in there because, they love to do trans folks. Biologically, the science back then said biologically, you motherfuckers are beneath us. So it's not like we haven't lived in a world where the science was 100% correct. And so the science back then said, well, you are a subspecies. And so what had to happen was we had to prove that was not true. And so that's why we have people like Phyllis Whitley and Frederick Douglass and people in the past who were being praised for doing basic stuff like reading and writing poetry. So there was a time when we were in a position in society where we had to prove that we could do those things just as well or better. That's why we have the mindset that we have parenting our children and saying, hey, you have to not only do what they do, you have to do it 2 times better, 10 times better to get half of what they, the classic line. And so when we get to where black folks are free, what's the first thing that black people had to do? They had to maneuver in society to get things done and survive. They had to maneuver in a society in a way that proved to white people that they can be just as distinguished, dress just as classy, dress just as, they can be that, whatever that is, that distinguished gentleman, that distinguished woman, all of those things. To even get in the door, to even get any kind of respect. You can't even be in this space without this. And so that's why it was important for Frederick Douglass to do the the um the image activism that he did. Because if you know, I know everybody knows Frederick Douglass for his, his narrative and for his speeches that he was making, during 4th of July and that kind of stuff. But he also was an image activist. He took pictures of Black people, he used photographs, he dressed Black people up to show white people that we can look just as distinguished. This was a part of his activism as well. And so there was a time when all we could do is submit to the whims of respectability politics. We had to submit or we wouldn't have survived. It wasn't our ancestors saying, "Oh, I want to be white." Our ancestors didn't say, "Oh, I'm following these rules because we want to be white." We following these rules because in order for us to even go to this store, in order for us to be in any spaces of advancement, we have to put on this role or we won't even be here. They won't take us seriously or they won't, we just won't. We won't be here. So it's not just, "Oh, I want to be white." There was a time where this is about survival. Following these class rules, following these etiquette rules. Etiquette is older. Etiquette comes from, kings and queens. You have to back in Europe. You have to act a certain way to be at this party. You have to act a certain way so we know that you're not one of the peasants. You know how to act in these spaces amongst kings and queens. There has to be a separation between us and them. And so those etiquette rules, those class rules of how you dress, how you present, it's all rooted in white supremacy. It's all rooted in patriarchy because men were making the rules. Women couldn't get in positions of power without following the rules of modesty, following the rules of conservatism, following the rules of taste of the time. They wouldn't be taken seriously. So, all right. So when we talk about AAVE, when we talk about mastering the white man's English, they have set that standard. And so, how do we get free of that? If we're constantly on this rat race to set the standard, to live up to that standard, how do we actually get free of that? And so what we start to see, it's kind of like when people were in the 80s and 90s, they were talking about, "Oh, y'all are sagging and this is why they treat y'all how they treat y'all." When if we look back in the pictures in the 60s when they was shooting people with water holes and sicking dogs on them, them people were dressed to the nines. They were in slacks and suits and dresses and church clothes and still was getting attacked and harmed. They were hung. I ain't never seen nobody on a tree in them pictures that we see hung. They ain't never naked unless they were burned or something. They usually in a full covered clothes. So what we see shifting now, okay? What we have seen in the shift in in culture and what we're seeing now that we've never seen before in the rap genre is this level of not giving a fuck about respectability. Now, I know people in their mindset are gonna be like, "Wait, but what about Little Kim? What about Foxy Brown?" There still was a class level that they were perpetuating. Yes, they were talking about sex and they were being sexy in breaking the barrier of modesty. But they also was talking about it in the sense of wearing Versace while doing it. A class thing. We talked about clothes and high prices. Those higher level brands is a class thing. Yes, I'm butt ass naked, but it's Versace, it's Gucci, it's these high class things that you poor people don't have access to. So yes, I'm breaking the rules in regards to talking about sex, but I'm still doing it in a way that perpetuates and promotes high class living. Are y'all following me? Y'all got me? What she say? Well, um, she said, keep it, I don't know the words. Keep your son says I got my own baguettes because I be doing things that a woman regret or something. What Kim say? It's always about, it's sexy, but it's about, I'm laying in luxury. I'm still a luxury high, it's ghetto fabulous. That is the brand that Misha Hilton created. We hood, we got our own style. Our hood, yeah, we gonna give you some bangy big ass earrings. We gonna give you these big ass glasses. We gonna give you fur coats. We gonna be black with it, but we also gonna do it while incorporating these high class themes. Okay. Black Barbie, dripped in Bakar. Yes. Yeah. That's what it is. It's still a level of perpetuating high class. And if we go back to Latifah, Queen Latifah, um, um, MC Light, a lot of people like to bring them up. Oh, back in the day when we were coming up, the women were classy. We had an MC Light and Queen Latifah. They still wasn't class. They were class for black people. When we see the headdresses, we think that that's amazing because we like black shit like that. But that shit ain't working in high class white society. That African booty scratcher clothes you got on, that's low class. That's African shit. That don't fit over here. That Joffrey Joffer coming to America shit. That ain't. Why did he have to change clothes when he came to New York? That shit you got coming up, you coming over here with a whole lion on your shoulder, that don't fit over here. And that tomboy, not dressed like a girl, MC Light that we used to love, black people loved her because of what she was saying. They were positioning themselves as high paid mistresses. Bam. Absolutely. But what they were saying, we loved them, but that tomboy shit, that's not how women supposed to. You not wearing that tomboy hat to the back, baggy clothes as a woman to a high class society thing. How MC Light used to dress. No, it wasn't sexual, but it was not high class. You ain't showing up at the Oscars in that MC Light. You ain't showing up in a black tie event in that. That ain't classy. It's not sexual. Are y'all following me? No, it's not sexual, but it's not high class. That's still based in the hood. That's still based in wherever they from in New York. I don't know where all the rappers from in New York. That's still based in where they from. You still showing the style of a hood that we don't think is classy. Black people love it because it's like, ooh, that's Archie. You feel what I'm saying? But as far as being high class, that's still not that. That's still not that. Another thing, let's talk about this no switching code, no need to code switch. So when we talked about the vernacular and the voice, if you pay attention to Claire, there was a need to code switch. Pay it, follow me, follow me. It's not a code switch to appeal to whites because she was already there. It's a code switch to appeal to blacks. classic, one of her most famous moments is when she read Elvin. And in that moment, she cut on her black woman. What she say? You ain't gonna have no woman serving you anywhere, anytime, any place, anyhow. She code switched back. And if you pay attention to them when they are trying to be authenticated by black people, when they need it in the moment, when they need to say, I'm still a black woman, they will code switch back. When they need to seem down, and they need to cut on the black, there is a level of I need you to know that I'm a black woman and I ain't gonna take no shit. There's a time when we need to do that as black women. It's something that if you talk to a lot of white girls, they say, "Ooh, I wish I had that." I wish I had that. Y'all are so powerful. Y'all so strong. But we have it because of our circumstances. Our circumstances in relationship to society. Um, um, da, 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 da. What else? What else? What else? Da, 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 da. So, somebody said two-parent household. We were talking about Claire. There are two-parent households. There are two-parent households in low class. Why did you think that one was? It's a trick question. I know why. I know why. But somebody said the two-parent households that Bill, Heathcliff, I'm sorry, not Bill, Heathcliff and Claire represent is high class. But we have two-parent households in lower class, working class families too. It was, especially back in the day, it was pretty common. We had two-parent households in 227. Come on, right? Pretty common. But we know 227 wasn't high class. Even though that was respectable, we know that they weren't high class like Claire and Heathcliff. So what's the difference? I know what the difference is. The difference is we associate two parents household with high class because the stereotype is that black folks don't have two-parent homes. Even though we see them, it's still that white supremacist trope of black folks not having two-parent homes. Still holds on to our brain. Even though we see it. Growing up, we have seen it. But still, for some reason, two parents is just classy. Two parents is just classy. Okay. So sexual stuff that Sexyy Red and Suki and them is. So that's before I get there. So that's class. We know what class looks like, and white people experience it too. We know what poor white trash is. Even like Jewish people, Irish people, they love to say, "Oh, they were slaves too," Irish people, and then Jewish people, "Oh, we were treated bad in the Holocaust." It's been about 100 years that they adopted themselves into whiteness. But prior to that, there's some of them just like the Latinx white people, and there's some of them just integrated themselves into whiteness. But for a very long time before that, they weren't integrated into whiteness, and they were considered the low class people, Irish. That's why for a long time in New York, particularly, it's not just New York, but this is all across the country. But New York, I'm not a New Yorker, but I love New York history. But New York, a lot of the cops were Irish because they, the upper class white people didn't want to do that kind of work. That was working class work. They didn't want to be no fucking cop. So a lot of the times, much better you be an Irish man than the niggas in the positions of power. So it was a time when it was a lot of cops, especially like between the 40s and the 70s. It was a lot of Irish people in those positions of power in the in cop jobs. But prior to that, when we were in the early 1900s and the late 1800s, the Irish were the housekeepers, just because they didn't want black people in their house working for their house. You get what I'm saying? Once they kicked us out of slavery, now who we gonna make our housekeepers? There was a time when it was like, oh, do we want these niggas in our house? And so it's other people that they start using. That's when we get to the Gilded Age. There was a time when it wasn't comfortable. These niggas are rebellion. Now, of course, they can't ease us right back into being their maids. But during that late 1800s, early 1900s, Irish people and lower class white people was coming into their homes as their maids. We see that in Gilded Age. And so I want you to understand that these class things that are embedded in our culture as Black people, why I wanted to break that stuff down, how we talk, how we dress, all the things that we are expected. And let me bring in the church. The church was once the place was radical. The Black church. I'm gonna say church, Black church, not other folks. There was a time in our culture where the Black church was radical. It was where we organized. It was where we gathered in secret or in public. It was where the people behind the church was about community. They were about setting us free and about freedom. They hadn't got into this prosperity gospel, and they hadn't turned into this gatekeeper of class. They hadn't fully adopted this white supremacist Christian fundamental idea of what Black people should look like, be like, blah, 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 blah. And when they adopted it, it wasn't because it was good for us. It was because it gave them access to white people. When we think about Ford, Ford was about to fail. Ford was about to they needed to do to protect the workers at Ford. You know what Ford did? Went in Detroit, when they were in Detroit, they went to Detroit and went to every single popular Black church and paid those ministers to convince them people not to unionize and vote against their favor. This is historic, y'all. This is history of how the church sold us out, how money has always been a way for people to sell us out, the church included. And so, look it up. And so, this is what I'm talking about. That respectability politics that the church represented gave them access to the politicians, gave them access to high society, got them access to money. So the church quickly, once we got to after Reconstruction, all those kind of things, it quickly sold us out, and it no longer had the lower class guy or girl people in their interest. And so that's when we get into church people running country clubs and the debutantes, and that's when we colorism come into play. It's only you got to be a paper bag to be considered classy. You get too dark, you look a little dirty. You don't look like, you got to talk and speak and look. And it's just something about the light skin that just is a little bit more classy and clean looking. We're doing that work now, but back then it wasn't even thought of. It was the truth to them, right? We're dismantling these things now. we're talking about it more. It's coming up. But back then it was just the truth to them. Hmm. And so the church started to do these things. Over time, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So there is a class of people who these are the high class people, and these are the ones that are not. And so what does that turn into? That turn into, here come Reagan, okay, in the 80s, with this new concept. It's not new, it's just being rebranded into something else, okay? It's being rebranded into something. Now it's about to get a name. And this name is about to be used as a tool to push a narrative that affects us in a particular group of us. So Reagan come in with the welfare queen idea. So this is a strategy. This is a strategy that they have worked on for decades at this point. By the time Reagan get in, how language starts to shift on how we talk about Black issues. Dog whistles. We won't just talk about back in the day when we could just say these niggers. When we can just talk about these racist issues and it not be a political harm. But now that we done got past the civil rights movement, we got to figure out how to talk about this stuff in a way that, and say these things in a way that doesn't just scream racism. Okay. And so we gotta, now we're gonna, when we talk about these welfare queens, even though white people have always been the most people on welfare, because white trash does exist, white lower class people do exist, right? They have been the dominant people benefiting from welfare. Same thing with affirmative action. White women white women benefit from affirmative action more than any of us. So when we get to Reagan, he says, hey, the welfare queens are fucking up our economy. The welfare queens, they're just sitting back having these babies. They're just sitting back. Now, we're not, when he says this, he don't need to say Black, because guess who gonna say it for him? Us. And the other white people who want to think it's us. You feel what I'm saying? It's gonna be the church, upper class Black, two-parent homes, because two parents are classy. It's gonna be them that said, yes, those welfare girls I seen down in the projects. And I'm using this voice as the Black people. You know, those girls down in the projects that's living in the hood with all the baby daddies that's not getting married. That's not getting married. That's not doing the class thing how we told them to do. You supposed to be in church. You're supposed to get married. You shouldn't have babies out of wedlock, and did all these rules that we have set forth for you that's based in Christianity, and you're not following it. So you are the welfare queen. And while white people using it as a utility to push their narrative, there are Black conservatives that are pushing that narrative too, like a Bill Cosby, like many church folks. These ghetto girls, these ratchet chicks having babies out of wedlock, teen pregnancy, blah 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 blah. We, at this point, nobody is looking at the education about sex. Nobody is looking at the harm, the molestation rates of these little girls. Nobody is looking at the harms that these girls are going through to get to this point. Nobody. It's just, oh, they're welfare queens. They're lazy. Which the lazy harken back to Negroes being lazy, even though they were picking cotton, wet nurses, taking care of y'all babies, blah 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 blah. It harkens back to there. So that's why I said it's not new. This is just a rebrand to use as a political tool. So then we get it, everybody want to talk about conspiracy theories about drugs getting pushed in the pushed into communities, blah blah blah. Cool. We know that's a part of it. Then we get hit by the crack epidemic. Then we get, oh, these welfare queens are having crack babies. These ghetto ratchet project bitches are having crack babies, and these crack babies are growing up to be super predators. And we're going to be tough on drugs and tough on crime. That's when we get the Hillary Clintons. That's when we get the most racist Democratic campaign of Bill Clinton to be successful, to successfully move white women to the Democratic side. Since there has not been a higher number of white women voters on the Democratic side since Clinton, because he ran this racist campaign, and they were like, oh my God, this charismatic, amazing Democrat. Clinton moved them like Obama moved us. They said, oh my God, look, our savior. And they went out to them polls. These are super predators. They're out here. They were crack babies, and now they're getting in their teenage years, and they're robbing, and they're shooting and killing, and the gang banging, and blah, blah, blah. There was no care for the children and the teenagers and the women in the hood. And right along with them, we had the high class Black people saying, see, these are the pariah of the community. These are the bad apples. That's not me. I got an education. I got married and had my babies with my husband. I dress modestly. My titties are always covered up. My ass ain't out. I'm not using curse words. I'm not using AAVE. And it gets even more pettier. My hair is straight. I relax my hair every time I see a nap. Them nappy head hoes down at the projects, they don't do that. My hair is classy. Y'all following me? Y'all see the timeline? So that's in the early 90s. Then we get into the mid 90s. Then we get the rapper girls. And then we see the sexy rapper girls. And then we're getting in the 2 Live Crew era, right? And these girls is twerking and going down the Freaknik and hoeing, and this is just the scum of the freaking earth, right? And so this is a constant thing. We haven't this Sexyy Red Sukihana type of girl. It's been out here, but for some reason, now that we got this more unapologetic one, that, oh, I'm gonna be ratchet in these stripper clothes. I'm gonna be ratchet, and not saying that they don't talk about getting money. I'm not saying that they don't do that, but there's a certain level of hood that they just are doing. Talking about buying food stamps and selling food stamps. There's a certain level that they are on that we haven't seen before. And so so when we talk about class, okay, when we talk about class, there's a certain level. Who is oppressed by class? Okay, when we talk about class oppression, we love to talk about colorism. Who is more? Okay, this is an easy one because sometimes it's hard for y'all too. But when we talk about colorism, who is the person affected by colorism? Dark-skinned Black people. That is easy. Who is most affected by racism? Black people. These should be easy because we talk about these things so much. These should be easy. But class should be just as easy. The darker, yes. So when we talk about class, who is going to be the most affected by class? Who is going to be the most affected? Poor black people, poor dark-skinned black people, poor women, poor black women. When we think, because class is based in money, it's based in education, it's based in a lot of things. And black women just got to the spot where we're dominating in education. We just got here. Still not dominating in money, still getting paid less. We got the degrees, but we're getting paid less. And class is about money. Yes, we are getting the degrees, but we're not getting the coins that everybody else is getting. Let's call that out. We're still making only what, 74 or 67, somewhere in there to every white man's dollar. The women's movement is partly responsible. Responsible for what? What does that mean? I don't Tell me what you're talking about, sweetie. Because that sounds weird. Sounded real sexist. The feminist movement hurt black. Oh, y'all getting spicy. So tell me how the feminist movement hurt black women big time. Because y'all love to say this, but y'all don't be knowing what y'all talking about. So explain it to me. Explain it to me how the feminist movement hurt black people, black women. Y'all, come on with it. Don't just say stuff out your ass and don't have no facts behind it. So tell me how the feminist, give me specifics too. How the feminist movement hurt black women big time. Because y'all talking like hoteps right now. So let's if you're gonna have hotep talking points, support it. While y'all think about it, I'm gonna keep going. So we love to act like when actually our men were providing for us just fine, but they weren't, baby. They weren't getting access to the jobs that white men were. That is also a class thing. Poor working class black women were working right alongside their men. They weren't being taken care of. There was a higher class of black people that were being taken care of by men who had access, usually light skin, who had access to property, who had access to things. There was a higher class of black people that were taking care of them, but there were also a poor class of black people that black women were maids and their men were factory workers providing for the family just like the men. There was never a moment in our history where it was dominant that it was just the men taking care of everything. We always had to work. So what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. The women's movement gathered all women, power in numbers. I'm confused by how that harmed us. What do you mean? Explain it. Y'all gotta explain it. Y'all talking like hoteps and not having the facts. Come on. And this is something that black feminists have written about many times in many books. This isn't new concepts. Black feminist movement hurt black women big time. When actually our men were the ones proving just fine for us. Providing, is that what you mean? I'm not understanding. What am I looking at? I'm not getting it. Y'all gotta explain it to me. Because I'm not getting it. Because I'm not seeing how the feminist movement hurt Black women. Coming off and under the power of economic powers restraints of men is a positive. It is not being under the financial power constraints of men is not a positive thing. The women elevated all the women while Black men left behind. Black women are still underpaid, paid less than Black men in this society. So what are you talking about? How did Black men get left behind if they're making more to the dollar of to the buying power of a white man than Black women, even though we got more degrees than them? Tell me, how are they being left behind if they still have access to the class privilege that we talked about? They still have access to work. They still have access to jobs. How did they get left behind? If they're still making more to a dollar to compare to the white man than we are as Black women. Black women always worked. Yes. Black women always worked. Always. It was white women who was sitting on their porch drinking lemonade while their Black man provided everything, not the poor ones. There was very few. If you go back and look at the economics of the Black family, when we come out of Reconstruction, during that time period, there was very few Black men who could afford to pay everything. The woman had to work. The Black woman had to work. That's why we were maids and washerwomen, y'all. That's why we were these women, seamstresses. That's why we were doing, because we needed to provide to make ends meet as well. Black men were not just taking care of us. That's like, y'all saying this is like when they say that the welfare kicked the Black men out the home. That is a lie. That is propaganda. And you still ain't told me, Magic, how the feminist movement, how the women's movement is responsible for what I'm talking about. I need specifics. Became the welfare queen. That's not the truth. They were abandoning their children. Men were going their own way, like they're doing now. It was very common. Very, very common. These are propaganda. These are anti-woman propaganda that y'all are spewing. There was no movement for Black men. What are you talking about? What? The whole civil rights movement was centering Black men. They were silencing women. Have you ever heard of Dorothy Height? Have you heard of Ella Baker? They were literally silencing the women who was organizing behind the scenes because they were centering men. What are you talking about? What? Huh? Like, this is like Black History 101. The Million Man March was in the 90s, but even before then, during the civil rights movement, they were silencing women, queer people. We couldn't even speak. The dude who was organizing, Bayard Rustin, he has a movie coming out about his life on Netflix. I only got half the story. Clearly, you only got the man's story, and you not only did you get half the story, whatever you heard about the men, but you also got the propaganda about women. They were silenced. Think about Dorothy Height, Ella Baker. There were tons of women in the movement, in movement work, that were silenced. That's just two that I can name off the top of my head. They were in that what Beyonce say, ran by the man, but the women keep the tempo. There's a reason why she said that. They were forced to be up front. And that was a class issue. There was a reason why Martin Luther King was seen as a person who rose to the top. He was a minister, married to a light-skinned woman, a light-skinned opera singing woman. Both of them were dating white people before they got together. Martin was dating a white woman. Coretta Scott King was dating a Jewish man. Her accompanist. All of these is respectable things. Yes. Farrakhan women, huh? What now? Come on. What you talking about? I don't just say it. Say what you talking about. Give me some full thoughts. What is a Farrakhan woman? What is Farrakhan woman? You definitely ain't about to tell me that the women were at the helm of um Nation of Islam. What? What is happening? There's a many of them that's kind of in their culture to be behind the men, like the rest of them. But even them, one of the whole little 60 stuff, one of the reason why there was this rift between Malcolm X and Nation of Islam is because they were old boy. He found out old boy was molesting the girls, getting them pregnant, and keep kicking them out of the mosque. Silenced and kicked out of the mosque. There's tons of shit back there where the women was being silenced and fucked over. Yes, black women were doing work behind the scenes. Oh, I don't know what you talk about, Danny. So, yeah, y'all gotta do some more reading, y'all. Patriarchy was always patriarchy, especially back then. And so there is a propaganda machine to demonize women that y'all gotta watch out for. We weren't in a better situation as women back then. We were not. Domestic violence was high as hell. Financial abuse was high as hell. Under the economic thumb of black men didn't mean we're in a better situation. Not having the powers that we have now in the fourth wave movement. Now that we're in the fourth wave, not having the power that the foundation of first wave feminism, second wave feminism. Now, look, there is an absolute critique that many people have already made. So you got to do your reading. You got to talk to people who lived through it. If you're not a reader, talk to people who lived through it. Talk to your old heads that got some sense. Talk to multiple people who lived through it. Yes, there was some racial blindsidedness to second wave to third wave feminism. When we talk about Betty Friedan and the what is branded as white feminism and the feminist movement, even that being branded, even the idea that middle class white women was the people of the feminist movement, that is a white supremacist propaganda narrative. There were people fighting that fight. Think about Polly Murray before them people. Think about the black women who didn't have the class privilege, who didn't have the money privilege, who were already doing the groundwork of feminism, who were already saying we're working in these factories with these men and we should be getting paid just as much. Who was already doing that work but didn't have the bullhorn of middle class educated people like Betty Friedan. They were already doing the feminist work. But you just heard about the white women because they were the ones in power and in privilege. You don't even know who Flo Kennedy is. Most people don't. Most people don't know who Polly Murray is. But they were already doing that work before the second wave feminism, before the third wave feminism. They were already doing that work and laying the foundation. And most of the stuff that the white feminists put up was from the black women behind the scenes. So thinking that it's just white women who was doing this work is also a white supremacist propaganda. You literally have the quote, the idea, whether this quote is real or not is questionable, but the idea was still there from Ida B. Wells, from Sojourner Truth. Ain't I a woman? I work with these men and do this kind of stuff. They don't treat me like that. That was the idea of that. That was the feminist idea that they were talking about in that passage, whether it's real or not. The idea that I'm a woman and y'all are not treating me like a woman. Y'all not treating me like these other women. Y'all not treating me like the men. Y'all not that intersection. That idea is the intersection that Sojourner Truth, the idea was presented in that moment. That's a feminist idea. That wasn't some white woman brainwashing her. She saw the difference in way ladies were treated and she was not. There wasn't nobody putting their coat down over a puddle for me as a black woman while I'm carrying my stuff. Nobody was putting the umbrella over my head and taking care of me. Nobody is paying me the same amount that these men are getting paid, even though I'm doing just as much work or more. That's a feminist idea. That's a feminist ideal that didn't come from white women. White women, when they got out of the strengths of patriarchy, when they start seeing other types of women getting more free and having more independence, they start wanting to get their ass off and under the thumb of patriarchy too. And that's why when we see the middle class women with education say, I want to work. I don't want to be sitting at home cooking and cleaning, and I got a degree and I'm cooking and cleaning and having babies for these men. I want to have the freedom other people have, the other people are talking about moving towards. We inspired them, black people. We inspired them to buck up against the system. They didn't have to buck up against whiteness. But they learned from us in the same way that white gays learned from us. Are y'all following me? They were in why it came in the 70s. Why we see this uptick of white women saying, no, we want to burn bras. Because they saw the effects of a marginalized group coming up, changing some shit. They were inspired by us. Are y'all following me? Because I don't want y'all going somewhere else thinking that the feminist movement harmed us, because it did not. We are in a much more powerful position now as women to make choices of our own. And a man taking care of you, a man being under the thumb of him economically is not freedom. That is not freedom as a woman. Yes, it's comfortable. Look, I am not, I'm not somebody that is not affected by the tradition. I tell men that I date all the time, I am a non-traditional woman, but I follow traditions. Do I want to be sitting at home getting taken care of and not having to go to work and as a woman? Does that seem like It's a good thing? Absolutely. Many women will tell you, yeah, I would love a great, good man taking care of the bills. That is a beautiful place to be, but that comes at a cost. You have to be his sexual object. You have to be his in-house slave. That comes with a cost. You don't have the freedom to go out here and do what you want to do when you're in those type of positions. And most people who are in those positions are making compromises all the time of how far they want to go with that. And the feminist movement gave them more room. It may not have dismantled it all, but it gave them more room to negotiate that. It gave them more room to negotiate what I can do. No, I may not. I may still, okay, I want to get married. I want to be home, blah, blah, blah. But, ooh, I got a little bit more wiggle room in my options. Think about when all the slaves was free, okay? And here I go. I'm a white woman. I used to be able to sit, get the slaves to nurse my kids, get the slaves to make me dresses, get the slaves to do the housework, but I can't do that anymore. Now, my husband's is figuring out how to swindle them into sharecropping, okay? My husband's is figuring it out. And me, the ones that I own back in the day, I can't own them no more because a lot of white women own them too. But I can't own them no more. My husband is figuring out how to get some money out of them through sharecropping. But the day-to-day life that I was used to, when the colors used to be at my beck and call, guess who those duties transferred to? As a white woman. Guess who household stuff the church is now selling to me? It is a woman's job to clean the home. It is a woman's job. It's no longer the nigga's job. It's no longer the colored people's job. Now it's my job to take care of the home and clean and cook. Did you think they liked that? Did you think they was okay with that? Now I got to make you a ton of babies. You used to only sleep with me to have a legacy, to have an heir to pass your stuff down to. So we really didn't fuck that much because you were taught to use. I'm the chaste pure thing that you just use for procreation, to pass your bloodline down. And you were taught to use me for that, but when you just want to do your sexual gutter bucket stuff, you do that with the slaves. But now you can't do that, even though you still was raping us, raping them. But you can't do that. So now I got to be the one having all these babies and losing my shape so that you can have sons and kids till the land, because we ain't got the slaves no more to till the land. Do you think white women like that? Do you think they were okay with that change? I'm talking, we know because white men are centered in racism, we don't really get to think, we don't really think about the shift that happens with white women. What makes them evil? What were they evil about? Because they still was seen as this pristine thing, this Doris Day. But now the labor that we would have to take care of, they gotta babysit now. They gotta get their titties all warped up from getting sucked on. They used to could pass it on. Put cabbage on the titties to make the milk dry up. It's an old country remedy that they got from black folks. Put cabbage on your titties to make your milk back up. so they titties can be back to normal. But the wet nurse is getting, the chafing from the sucking. Now they got to do it. They got to have all these babies to till the land because we ain't got no slaves no more to make money, especially those poor ones, especially the poor ones, because we got to talk about, we was talking about class. There were poor white people. Having slaves was like owning a car. Everybody didn't have a car. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Thank you. I see a lot of people on thumbs up already without me saying. Appreciate you. So I want y'all to think about that. And so when they see us, but they were out, I pull the book out all the time. It's called Sex, Race, and Love, Sex, Race, and Love. And there is a specific episode, there's a specific, not about to say episode, there's a specific chapter that talks about Southern white women trying to bring legislation against rape and against child, and to raise the legal marrying age. Because men were raping young girls or marrying young girls too. And so there were women, white women, who were like, with black women. It's always with black women. I don't want y'all to but they had the power to go to the courts. They had the fathers and the people who had some power to go and say, hey, this legislation needs to be passed. This is an issue. Our young girls are getting raped and traumatized by these older men. But because black women had just been freed and are considered women now, the white man was like, if we do that, we can start getting rape charges by these colored girls. And guess what the white women stopped doing? Fighting for it. Because they said, oh yeah, you're right. And it wasn't until decades, 100 years later that they start fighting again. And guess who was at the helm of that when it started to take a shift? Yes, white women was complaining about sexual harassment, but who was the face of the change of sexual harassment? Anita Hill. Come on, like, we got to think about it. We cannot center white people all the time in these fights, and we cannot let men, particularly black men, straight ones, who are invested in patriarchy, give you a narrative about the feminist movement. You have to do your reading. You have to do the work around that. Y'all have to, because y'all are just perpetuating the same bullshit, the same hotep shit. Thank you, Caliber. I can't say that first name. Quali, is that how you say it? Quali? The male force is like fire. Once you let it run free, it's dangerous, hard to contain. Toronto Burke with Me Too movement also. That comes later. That's within the past 10 years. But in the 90s, when we started, who shifted the tides in the conversations about workplace sexual harassment, it was Anita Hill. Was it 91, 92? It was Anita Hill. Because white women weren't fighting in that way, on that scale. Nobody was standing. For her to stand up to a Supreme Court justice nominee, that was unheard of. Queen, you silly. So yes, and so let's bring it back to Sexyy Red and Sukihana. There are people who are more marginalized by this class thing. And it's going to be Black women. And it's going to be the class of women that you think are ratchet, that are selling their food stamps, that are in the hood, braiding each other's hair. It's going to be with the bright colors. It's going to be all the things that stereotype hood rat shit. They are, if we didn't have them economically, we would be harmed. They are the backbone of this country. Just like the immigrants, just like we have the idea that the immigrants are the backbone of this country, it is also Black working class women, hood women. It is them too. And the idea that they're just leeches to the society is a anti-Black idea. And if you can understand how immigrants are the backbone of this economic society, you have to include them. And if you don't include them, it is because you have bought into a anti-Black idea of how this economy works. I want you to understand that. There needs to be a Black market. There needs to be a poor class, or this system wouldn't work. Thank you, Maxwell. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There has to be that. And so, when we have, let me tell you what this person said on their, which pissed me off. It really did piss me off. They said, calling all women of color specifically and women in general to take a strong stand in being vocal against this activity. And they're talking about Sexyy Red and Sukihana twerking and, you know, being at the VMAs, doing that thing. Our younger generation needs to be exposed to more positive and dignified examples of womanhood. It has to stop, and it has to stop now. Now listen. And then one of my trans homegirls, she was on her bullshit too. She was making it seem like a joke because somebody told her that when we talk about women's health, they should get somebody like Suki or Sexyy Red to talk about women's health. And so people were like, they were making it a joke. It was a joke. It's like it's a like not taking the suggestion seriously. And I'm like, actually, that's a great idea. The people who are most marginalized and affected by Black women's health are going to be poor, working class, hood rat bitches. And so these girls speaks to that class of woman. So if you want to be effective, you're not going to get a Diane Carroll. You're not going to get a Claire Huxtable. We know Claire Huxtable is a fake person. Claire Huxtable. You're not going to get the Ivory Tower, Harvard, Princeton graduate. You're not going to get her because the hood bitch ain't going to listen to her. Because you're going to be too far removed from that person for you to relate. You might can relate. There might be some that they move. But if I'm a hood girl, who am I going to listen to more when they talking about be safe? And these women, from the interviews that I've seen with them, they are sex positive. They are open about STIs. They're open about, you know, getting diseases. They're open about how to take care of yourself. You get what I'm saying? They're openly talking about these things without shame. And anybody who know anything about stigma when it comes to HIV, when it comes to syphilis, when it comes to any kind of STI, it's the shame that stops people from going to get tested. It's the shame that stops people from telling another partner that they may be infected. It's the shame around these things. And so if somebody that looks like them, that talks like them, is speaking about this shit openly, it opens the door for them not to be shamed. So it actually is a wonderful idea to get these people on board to talk about this. Does that mean you can't add them with some experts? Absolutely. Yes, that's strategy. That's when it comes to you wanting to be effective in your organizing work. When you want to be effective in your activism, and you're not just talking out your ass upholding class issues because this person didn't get a degree, this person doesn't dress a certain kind of way, this person doesn't talk a certain way to your fucking class standards. But when you're actually trying to move people and be effective, you think about bringing in an Angela Davis and a Sukihana to have a conversation. They did it with Bernie Sanders and Cardi B because they understood her power. They understood her connection. They understood who she was talking to. They wanted to move young people because they know younger voters vote more left leaning. That was smart. That was strategy. But you trying to be a class person, you trying to be this upper class person. Oh, we only want people to talk about this issue that fits the standard that I want to stand. You're being fucking stupid. Your high class educated ass is being stupid because you're not seeing the power in these women to move the needle. You're not as smart as you think you are. That degree didn't give you shit. It didn't give you any kind of wisdom. It didn't give you any kind of strategy. And so while you're looking down on these women, they're innovative. They're actually coming out of the hood, coming out of the project, using these gimmicks and these standards and these tropes and this sexuality to become rich because you know they got money. They making money off these things. Now, they're not as dumb as you think. But you're not using them as a utility, and I think that we should. And everybody want a real bitch until it's a real bitch in your fucking face. That's another element that pisses me off. Everybody want to say they want a real bitch, but then you got a real bitch in your face talking about STIs and talking about STDs and being a cum dump and doing all this kind of stuff. Then it's like, oh my God, they're too much. They're too much. They're too much. Oh my God, they just do too much. It's such inauthentic. It just seems like a show. It's a gimmick. It's a okay. But they talking about some real shit. They're being honest about their experience. I know a bunch of these classy bitches is lying to you hoes. That's out here getting STIs. They ain't got no babies because they was running around being a hoe. And it ruined some of their insides. They still have value. I don't want to make this seem like I'm saying they don't have value. They still have value, but they're lying to you. They're not talking about their history because of the shame. What's that? What show was that? I don't remember what show it was. I think it was for Color Girls. They were talking about that girl that she was in shame and why she couldn't have no babies because a nigga had gave her STI that she didn't know that he gave her. And by the time she could get it fixed, it done damaged some stuff in her body, so she can't have no kids because nobody was talking about it. There was some shame in it. You know how these girls, these hood bitches would love to hear somebody that talks like them, acts like them, live the life that they live, talking about it, how it could free them. Because I sure ain't relating to no damn Michelle Obama. I ain't relating to no Oprah. I ain't relating to Michelle Obama. I ain't relating to no Claire Huxtable. Them bitches can't tell me about me. They can't tell me about my experience. Make sure I didn't miss anything. And then there's another thing. There is a colorism thing that I wanted to talk about. I had posted something about them, and people were. I was talking about, them in a positive way, and somebody went as soon as I posted it, they went under my comments and was talking about. I wish that they start talking about the statistics and cases of the rise in Black women when it comes to syphilis and when it comes to HIV. Well, I think they were talking about HIV, but syphilis too. There is a rise in syphilis. And while that is important, while it is important for us to talk about them things, but the context in which you bring this conversation up is also telling about your politics. Because you want these bitches to be activists and activism and honey. I want them to talk about safe sex, but you don't do that to the Lottos and the Sweeties. Why is that? Have you asked yourself why you don't do it to them? Because they talk about being on their knees sucking dick too. They got their ass and booties, titties shaking too. They out in their videos twerking and being ratchet too. So why is these girls, the darker complected ones, the ones that gotta be the activist hoes? Why are they the ones that gotta be the talking about? Why are you bringing up diseases and shit under the conversation about them? Y'all got y'all will go under Sweetie and Lotto's thing and call them out about colorism and being biracial. Y'all love to do that, but you're not clocking how you still are marginalizing the Black girls by bringing up the darker skinned Black girls, by bringing up STDs when we're talking about elevating them. That plays into colorism too. You're talking to it's easy for you to see when we're talking about the opportunities that these yellow hoes get. But you're not looking, it's not as easy to see when we talk about the disparities and negative conversations that the darker hoes get. Are you paying attention to that? Because why the fuck are you bringing up STDs when we're talking about these girls being marginalized because they ratchet and considered low class? Well, I wish they would talk about the rates of HIV and what, bitch? What? Why are you bringing that up? What does that got to do with anything of what I'm talking about? See the difference? We can easily see when it's privileging, but what about the disparities? So yes, that is my rant. That is my rant. I feel like we should be tired. We should be tired of this. And I wanted to talk about, the difference in this is 101, but look at the difference in how we treat men and the sexualities of men and the sexuality of women in regards to the rap game. When the baby, as toxic as we learned him to be, he had a whole song called Throat Babies, a whole song about that became popular, and nobody was talking to him about STDs. And he was actually talking about fucking raw in the song. Nobody was in the comments talking about STDs. Not at a large number, maybe one or two, maybe. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. But y'all stay talking about it, about these women. As if men don't get STDs. As if men is not spreading STDs. As if men don't have high risk categories. Are high risk category in STDs, STIs. Like it's only the women's responsibility. That's sexism. That's misogynoir. That's the same. That's what it looks like. They are literally surfing on nut in the video, but everyone have the smoke for WAP. Surfing on nut. Ridiculous. It's wild. It's crazy. So that's all I wanted to talk about. What y'all want to talk about? Y'all gotta watch it. Y'all gotta pay attention to how we respond to these people. And I know people are gonna say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I know there's some people gonna say, "Well, how do we hold Black women accountable?" We don't got no problem with being accountable, but do it equally, motherfucker. We handling our business. Look, as an organizer, it's always Black women on the front line talking about these things. So until you meet us, meet what the effort that we putting in to save you, then you bring us the noise. If you ain't meeting us, just like this shit about protection, you niggas are the one we got to get protected from. If you want us to be held accountable, motherfucker, why you not holding these niggas accountable? I was talking to my homegirls earlier today, and what's pissing me off about this conversation with Iyanla and this protection shit is they love to talk about how we both sides have a problem. Both sides have an issue that we gotta fix. We are all out of order. Blah blah blah. No, we fucking are not. Equating our position when men dominate the harm against us is gaslighting us. That is a problem. Men dominate intimate partner violence. Men dominate domestic violence. Men dominate intimate partner homicides for women, trans, cis, all of us. They dominate our harm. So making it seem like we have a problem when we're not killing them at the same rates, we're not beating them as they're saying, y'all love the women do domestic violence too. It's not the same. Even if it's some, it's not to the number. So making it seem like we are equally at fault in this situation is a gaslight tactic. You are lying. You are full of shit. You don't see, where is the men's organization that is led by men that tackles the issue of domestic violence for men? Where is the men organization? That is a problem in our society. Why are they not organizing to fix that problem? Let's talk about accountability. Y'all love to say, not all men. I don't beat my wife. I don't beat women. I don't hit them in the face with a brick. I don't do that. All men don't do that. That's the men you choose. Why? Just like we organize to keep you clowns out of jail and keep the officers from shooting you when they're not shooting us and locking us up, even though they are locking us up and shooting us. Breonna Taylor, even though they're not doing that at rates comparative to you, we still organizing to get you out of jail. We still organize to stop them from killing you. Why you not organizing to help your niggas stop to get therapy, to help your niggas stop beating us, to stop killing us. Oh, and higher rates than other demographic of women too. Only women that beat us in regards to demographic and numbers is Native American women. The rest of them hoes, we slaying them in the numbers. But Black women and Native Americans have the highest number. And I said this statistic a while ago, but it's the Native American ones, one of the leading cause of death in 10 ages 10 to 24 is intimate partner homicide for them. Do you hear what I'm saying? 10 to 24. 10 to 24. Somebody is killing them. It's crazy. So where are the organizations? Where's the organizing around those issues? When we want to talk about accountability, why are y'all not doing that? Black women don't want to be held accountable. We're doing the work for us. It's literally a group of women that's like a hedge fund that's raising money for Black entrepreneurs to get investments, because Black investors, Black women, in regards to they only like 3% of the banking investments of the money, even though they make up tons of the many of the small businesses in our country. They literally are getting sued to stop them from giving funds to black women businesses. Somebody is doing the work on all levels when it comes to us. So this bullshit about we can't be held accountable, we know our issues and we're working on them. When we try to help y'all, a Black woman literally got fired from her job because she told y'all to go get therapy. Y'all rallied, y'all organized and rallied to get her fired, like we do Karens and Chads. Y'all organized to get her fired. Y'all don't show us no grace ever. Ever. Y'all trash. Y'all don't show us no grace, even though we are the work mules in regards to work. Now, the work that we were doing and investing in the church back in the day, we were the niggers housemaids, the niggers washerwomen, the niggers hairdresser, the niggers seamers, all the money that we put into the movement. Now, the men was taking care of us. We never get credit for what we do that help y'all. It's always we don't want to be held accountable. Fuck out of here. Sued by the same guy who did affirmative action, right? Yes. You are right, Brandon. Mm-hmm. We are the work mules. We the work mules for white women in the women's movement, work mules for Black men in the civil rights movement. We the work mules in the gay movement, sexual liberation movement, dykes and trans black dykes and Black trans women. Y'all literally on the shoulders of the scholarship and the organizing work of those women. And y'all want to whitewash us out of movies, whitewash us out of all opportunities. On all levels, we being whitewashed. We being or male washed. And some of our own people is believing the damn hype. Y'all weird. Weird. But yes. Let me get off my soapbox. My lips look crusty. But all right, y'all. I'm about to get up out of here. I hope y'all enjoyed. Come back and listen. Um, and yes, next week on Friday, we will be talking about Danielle Luna's documentary. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was good. I thought that them bringing in, some models to talk about her was great. Um, Her daughter, her lovers, I loved it. So we're gonna talk about that, and we will. Yeah, I'll see y'all next week. Make sure you thumbs up, and yeah, we had a good conversation. Bye, y'all.